everybody, this is Vanessa. I just got home from LeakyCon yesterday. There should be a short montage type video to come, but I wanted to make a video about something that I noticed there. I look tired and sound hoarse. That is because I am still really exhausted from the trip, but I'm going to be leaving for an unschooling conference in just 10 days. So I wanted to make this video now before I leave and before I forget. LeakyCon was the first time I had gathered with Harry Potter fans since Pottermore came out. And one thing that I noticed when people talked about what house they were in is that they often said what they identify as and then what Pottermore had sorted them as. As one of the few people on Pottermore who is sorted into the house that they actually identify with, I probably don't have a lot of room to talk. But I just want to talk really briefly about why your Pottermore sorting shouldn't affect what house you identify as. I know that the process of Pottermore sorting was really scary because it was like, oh my god, word from J.K. Rowling, and I was really nervous about it and the rest of the world was really nervous about it. And I'm not saying that anybody should feel like they shouldn't want to be in the house that they feel they actually are. But what I am saying is that the house that Pottermore sorts you into doesn't actually affect what house I think you should continue to identify as. Other people and other things, especially things that are more or less some kind of algorithm, really shouldn't determine how we think of ourselves. Now, for people who aren't Harry Potter fans, this might seem like a really trivial subject, but for people who get it, I know you'll understand. Too often in this world, I think we let people decide things for us about ourselves, but there are certain things that people wouldn't let other people decide for them. No one would try to tell anybody else what race or culture they closely identified with and what one they didn't. People don't usually run around trying to tell each other what socioeconomic class they consider each other. So your Hogwarts house does say a lot about you and how you see yourself and what you identify with. So often at LeakyCon I heard people saying, well, I'm a Ravenclaw, but Pottermore sorted me into Gryffindor, so now I'm confused. With the video before the Pottermore sorting saying that this was official word from J.K. Rowling and once you got this, you could never go back, I totally understand why it's such a big deal. I'm a firm believer that everyone should have the right to decide on the labels that they use for themselves. But there are two really big labels in life that very often, of course not all the time, but very often we let society and other people pick for us. One of them is letting society kind of choose what gender they think people should have. A lot of people go against that, and a lot of people, transcend that expectation. But there's a really strong expectation of what gender people will be. Possibly the most important label that we have in society, in conversation, in groups of our friends, is a label that is almost always picked for us by someone else, and that would be our names. I've always found it odd that your parents choose your name for you before you were even born. They haven't even met you, they don't know what kind of person you are, but they pick a name for you. I've always thought that was really odd, and I'm a firm believer of people picking their own names. But to bring this back to Pottermore, I just wanted to say that I think that labeling is something really important and really valuable, especially in the Harry Potter community where we have basically 4 labels that we can pick to describe ourselves and how we think about ourselves and how we feel about the world. And when we let somebody else pick that label and tell us how to identify ourselves, I think that's a problem with the way the Harry Potter community sees itself. I know a lot of people just stand up and say, you know what, screw Pottermore, I am what house I am, and I think that's really cool. But I know that I would have been really, really upset if I had been sorted into a house other than Hufflepuff. The fact that the Pottermore sorting quiz doesn't have any sort of way to take into account what you want is a real problem. Especially considering the fact that we specifically know that the actual sorting hat does take that into account and does listen to your opinion. An algorithm can't do that. So it's a little bit silly, in my opinion, to decide that you're gonna switch houses or feel confused because of what Pottermore says. So here's my call to everyone in the Harry Potter community. If you got sorted into the wrong house on Pottermore, you know what? You are whatever house you think you are. You identify with whatever you say you identify with. Don't let other people, even if that person is J.K. Rowling, tell you what house you're going to be in. Okay, my rant is officially over. Thank you for watching, everybody, and if you have anything to say, please leave a comment. I would love to continue this discussion about labeling and self-identifying and who has the right to tell us what we choose to label as in the comments. To everybody who got sorted into the house that they identify with on Pottermore, good for you. And to everybody who didn't, you are whatever you say you are. Bye, everyone.